From a 16-foot megalizard that used to roam Australia to the weirdest crocodile still living that you've probably never heard of before, here are 10 of the biggest reptiles you didn't know existed. (10) The giant salamander. The giant salamander is one of the biggest and weirdest reptiles in the world. This beast occupies the rivers of China and Japan. It's so huge that the biggest ones can clock in at around 6 feet. It goes without saying, this is not your garden variety salamander. It's bigger than most people. Even more remarkable is that it has gone unchanged for millions of years. It has reached its peak in evolution, though its numbers have significantly dwindled recently, and it now stands on the brink of extinction. What does the giant salamander do? It mostly hides out at the bottom of rivers, vacuuming fish into his giant mouth whenever one swims a little too close. But what's really strange is that the giant salamander stinks like pepper. Those who have encountered one describe it as having an overwhelmingly pepper-like scent. And even though it's so big, it's actually pretty quick and can scurry off in a hurry when it needs to. It even makes weird noises, and it keeps growing bigger and bigger until it reaches the perfect adult stage, which can take years. The giant salamander can't see very well, but it's still a top predator in its ecosystem thanks to its keen sense of smell and the unique receptors it has on its skin that detect vibrations in the water, allowing it to easily hunt even while blind. Just be careful if you get in the water where this creature lives. It's probably not very keen on human invaders. 9. Megalania. The biggest lizard ever seen by human eyes is the Megalania prisca, a huge terrestrial lizard. It was a type of monitor lizard described first in Australia in 1859. At the time, the lizard was living sparsely in Australia, though it had once occupied open forests, woodlands, and even grasslands. Many people have compared the Megalania to the Komodo Dragon since they are pretty similar in size and had pretty similar diets, like large mammals, other reptiles, and even giant birds. However, the Megalania was nothing like the modern Komodo Dragon. It was significantly larger. The biggest of these monitor lizards could grow to be over 15 feet or 4.5 meters long. That is rivaled today only by the saltwater crocodile. It has sharp teeth that could rip apart meat very easily. This would have been handy when it was hunting ancient kangaroos, wild deer and pigs, and even goats. The lizard also had toxic saliva and was just as much of a scavenger as it was an ambush predator. Its toxic saliva could infect a victim and cause them to slowly die, at which point the lizard could feast on their corpse. According to the Australian Museum, this huge lizard may have even feasted on pygmy elephants before humans ever arrived in Australia. But today, the pygmy elephant and the Megalania are both extinct. Oddly enough, there are no complete skeletons of the Megalania, and all paleontologists have ever found are fragments of skull material along with random teeth and fossils of limbs and jaws. I'm just glad these terrifying creatures are gone. Imagine getting into a fight with this real-life dragon. 8. Malayan Gharial. The Malayan Gharial is a very special type of reptile that only lives in Indonesia and Malaysia and is considered endangered. It's a little smaller than other gharials found in the world, but it's by far the most unique. Just like other crocodilians, these creatures spend most of their time lounging in the water. If you are in their territory, watch out! They have specialized bodies that allow them to swim quickly, while their muscular tails propel them through the water at blistering speeds. They have eyes situated at the top of their heads, allowing them to see and hear everything going on around them, even when mostly submerged. Oh, and they can also breathe with their mouth closed, thanks to special structures in their throat that let them breathe while preventing water from getting into their mouth. But just how big can the Malayan Gharial get? They're actually pretty large for a crocodilian and can grow to be just over 13 feet or 4 meters in length. They have scaly armor protecting their body and are a dark brown color rather than the traditional alligator green. If you've ever wondered what the slender snout of the gharial is for, it's used to catch fish. The slenderer the snout is, the more efficient the animal is at snapping little fish out of the water. These are apex fishermen, though they sometimes also snack on crabs, poking their snouts into their underground burrows and stealing them right out of their own homes. Not only that, but Malayan Gharials have also been caught eating monkeys that wander too close to the water's edge. They'd probably eat you if they got the chance. 7. Leatherback Sea Turtle. Most of us are pretty familiar with sea turtles, but are you familiar with the different types of sea turtles? The most widely distributed turtle species of all is the leatherback, which also happens to be the biggest turtle in the world, with weights of up to 2,200 pounds. Rather than having a hard, bony shell like a tortoise, the leatherback has a leathery shell made of cartilage-like tissue. It's almost as if the turtle is covered in leather armor instead of bone armor. Leatherback sea turtles can be found basically everywhere throughout the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and even the Indian Ocean. They roam from Alaska to New Zealand and don't really care how hot or cold it is, because they can maintain a consistent body temperature regardless of the water around them. Leatherback sea turtles are also great travelers. Some individuals will travel across an entire ocean, maybe even several times. Females specifically will travel to and from their favorite nesting sites, almost always returning to the exact same beach where they first hatched to build their own special nest. Even more amazing is that leatherback sea turtles don't seem to care about ocean pressure. They can dive down to 4,000 feet or 1,200 meters and stay there for over an hour. They can dive deeper than any other turtle and deeper than most marine mammals. 6. Ancient dragons. Before dinosaurs, there were reptiles that looked an awful lot like dragons and had huge heads with teeth like steak knives. They lived 250 million years ago and were called erythrosucherids, or more simply, red crocodiles. They were huge and vicious and perhaps the most effective land predators on Earth at that time. These reptiles could grow to be around 9 to 10 feet long, or 3 meters. While that doesn't sound huge by the standards of today, it was pretty large for the pre-dinosaur world. They would have walked on 4 legs and looked similar to mythical dragons, only smaller. Sadly, there isn't a whole lot we know about them. Professor Richard Butler says there are lots of animals from this time on Earth, all of them weird and interesting, but we just don't know as much as we'd like about them all. These lizards had very big heads when compared to their bodies, and experts believe it's because they were hypercarnivores, meaning they had diets composed of nothing except meat. In other words, they were super predators and hardcore meat eaters. 5. Olive sea snake. The olive sea snake is one of the biggest and scariest reptiles that you might encounter on your next snorkeling trip in Australia. These horrifying monsters live throughout the tropical Pacific Ocean between Australia and New Guinea. They also live all throughout the surrounding island groups, hiding inside the coral reefs where they find their prey. The olive sea snake is not that hard to come across, though most humans would like to avoid them. They also grow to be over 6.5 feet or 2 meters in length. Imagine a giant python, only swimming. If you're wondering if the olive sea snake is dangerous for scuba divers, the answer is, it depends. Apparently, the olive sea snake is naturally curious and has been known to approach divers. While they aren't that aggressive, they can bite when threatened, and their bite is known to be fatal. But when the olive sea snake isn't busy hunting and killing innocent divers, they're hunting other creatures in the ocean. And unlike other reptiles, the olive sea snake lives its entire life in the ocean without ever nesting on the shore, making it quite unique in the world of marine reptiles. Have you ever gone deep sea diving? What animals did you see in your expedition? Tell me about it in the comments below. Then remember to subscribe to Epic Wildlife for more exciting videos just like this one. 4. The Nano Chameleon. Take a look, not at the biggest reptile on Earth, but at the smallest. Scientists have just discovered the absolute smallest reptile ever seen by human eyes, a creature so tiny that it can fit on the head of a match. It's called a Nano Chameleon, and it's the smallest out of any other chameleon and out of any other of the 11,500 species of reptile. The body of the male chameleon is only 0.53 inches or 1.2 centimeters long. That is as tiny as it gets for a terrestrial animal, about the size of a sunflower seed. It was discovered on an expedition to Madagascar. And while the Nano Chameleon has been threatened recently by deforestation, it now has a protected habitat to thrive in. You can rest easy knowing this ridiculously adorable reptile will continue living for the foreseeable future. As of right now, only 2 specimens have been discovered, a male and a female, and even though the researchers tried desperately to find more, they simply couldn't. They figured the habitat the lizard lives in is quite small, which makes sense considering how tiny the chameleon is. And at the end of the day, it's lucky the scientists found 2 specimens at all. We're literally talking about chameleons that can change their color to blend in with the environment, about a ½ inch long. 3. Sea lizard egg. A couple of years ago, Chilean scientists found a strange fossil in Antarctica that they thought looked kind of like a deflated football. For 10 years, the specimen sat in a dirty old collection of unknown objects at the National Museum of Natural History in Chile. Nobody knew what it was. Finally, researchers from the University of Texas arrived to study the fossil and realized they were dealing with a giant egg from about 66 million years ago that probably belonged to some kind of ancient sea lizard reptile monster. The egg itself is almost a foot or 30 centimeters long, making it the second largest egg of any animal known to science. It's also the first fossilized egg to ever be found in Antarctica. What's really horrifying is that scientists don't actually know what animal laid the egg. It could have been a large marine reptile like a mosasaur, but scientists don't know for sure. So far as we know, mosasaurs didn't lay eggs. Nobody can even conceive of just how big and horrifying the reptilian that laid this egg would have been millions of years ago. And since there were no other fossils found nearby the egg and no other eggs have been discovered, right now we'll just have to deal with the mystery of it. Imagine if the scientists figured out how to resurrect the species from the egg though. Jurassic Park could become real. 2. Mugger crocodile. The mugger crocodile is not the biggest crocodile in the world, but it is one that you've probably never heard of. It's also known as the marsh crocodile and has the broadest snout of any living croc to date. It lives only in southern Asia and on the Indian subcontinent and is more alligator than crocodile in appearance, though it is still a crocodile. The marsh crocodile has a flat head, a rounded snout, and webbed feet, although it hardly uses its feet for much. It can be found mostly in irrigation canals, saltwater lagoons, and any accompanying marsh. What's quite unique about the mugger crocodile is that it has very social behavior. They communicate and interact with one another and practice significant vocalization. When not busy snapping at each other, they build tunnels in the dirt and then hide in them during the day to beat the heat, swimming out at night to search for food. When food is scarce, mugger crocodiles will migrate across great distances to find better feeding grounds. As for just how huge these crocs get, they can grow to be a maximum of around 15 feet or 4.5 meters in length. It's not that large, but you still wouldn't want one of them to bite you. A mugger crocodile could still easily rip your leg off. Number 1. Komodo Dragon. The Komodo dragon is the biggest living species of lizard, but we've all heard of them before. But what we didn't know is where it came from. Until just recently, researchers actually believe the Komodo dragon originated from a smaller lizard in Indonesia. They thought it evolved to such a large size because there wasn't enough competition from predators nearby. However, an international team of scientists may have disproved the standing theory of the origins of the Komodo dragon. Looking at fossils from eastern Australia 300,000 years to 4 million years before today, scientists have confirmed Australia as the birthplace of the legendary dragon, and quite a long time ago. Scientists are now saying the ancestor of the Komodo dragon evolved in Australia and then migrated west around 900,000 years ago, eventually landing in Indonesia. The theory is supported by fossil specimens found on the island of Timor, between Australia and Indonesia. Fossils here have revealed a new type of giant lizard larger than the Komodo dragon that has not yet been named. It now seems that all the largest lizards originated in Australia, with the Komodo dragon being the last in the line of the great lizards. But what really confuses scientists is how the Komodo dragon survived on the small islands throughout Indonesia while going extinct in Australia, which is larger, more spacious, and was filled with more food sources. Which giant reptile is your favorite? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and come back again for another fun video. See you next time.